Some people don't look at their paychecks and have no idea like how much the government's just robbing them.
Sure.
Just robbing them.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to A Conversation with Colin. I'm Greg, and this is my roommate, Colin. Now, sometimes Colin says crazy stuff, so for the final time, thanks to your support on patreon.com/kindafunny, I'm reaching into the random topic pile, pulling one out, tossing it at him, and talking it out for your amusement. If you like that, like the video, subscribe to us on YouTube, share us with your friends, support us on patreon.com/kindafunny. Colin, are you ready?
Yes.
Today's topic of conversation is taxes. This was submitted by Ramon, a Game Over Greg Show favorite, your friend, your best friend.
My good friend. Taxes are my favorite thing, Greg. I love
Taxes are your favorite thing.
They're great.
You hate taxes. Yeah. Your Twitter handle's no taxation. There's a lot of lies going on.
Mm-hmm. How do we unpack this one?
I don't know. Ramon wrote in taxes. He didn't even put a period on the card. So it could be anything you want it to be.
I hate taxes. I think that they're deplorable, and I always love when people like paying them. That's always my favorite thing. When people are like, we gotta pay our taxes. And
they keep the roads paved.
They gotta pave the roads. All right, that's cool. I would rather just keep my money and we'll figure something else out. So
how would you figure out paving the roads?
No, so I mean, taxes are a fact of life, and there has to be taxes. But there are different kinds of taxes.
Sure.
And I think that the income tax is wrong. Like we pay in the United States up to almost 40%, depending on how much money you make, in income taxes. That's insane. That's insane when you include payroll taxes, of course. And that's just absurd that like we don't just refuse to pay. Like we're not paying like think about some people don't look at their paychecks and have no idea like how much the government's just robbing them.
Sure.
Just robbing them. And what's even funnier is that all right, so you get your money, they rob you of whatever, your 30%, your FICA and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the store and they just charge you another 9% tax on that. I'm like, all right, I already paid taxes, but I guess I'm gonna pay this too. And then you go home and you pay your property tax, and then you go to the gas pump and you pay your gas tax, you buy your cigarettes and you pay your cigarette tax.
You buy your fast food, you pay the unhealthy tax.
Exactly, you pay your bag tax, all these kinds of things. Like, what is wrong with everyone? Why are we paying all these taxes? This is why you don't introduce taxes, because once you introduce, like the income tax when it was introduced was 1%,
Yeah.
Once you open the door to any sort of tax, then it just gets out of control, and that's why you don't open the door to new taxes. I believe in what they call ad valorem taxes, which are basically taxes on value of things. So I believe in property tax. I think that's fine. I think that makes sense, especially for local and state governments. You should pay property tax because that's how you would pave your roads.
Right.
And then I believe in a VAT, a value-added tax, a consumption tax, which would be a sales tax, a national sales tax on everything you buy. So, but non-essentials. So no food, clothing, or fuel taxes, but everything else would be taxed. So if you bought a car, you'd pay 15% tax on it. But that seems really high until you realize that they didn't tax your income.
Right, so you have more money than you thought you had before that.
Exactly, so it's so weird to me that in the United States we say, well, how are we going to pay for this without taxes? And my whole question is, why are we paying for it at all? Why is our military so big? Why are we like all over the world?
Well, one day we're going to default on the loans from China, and they're going to try to start some shit. That's why the military's so big.
Right, but we could still have a really strong military that no one would mess with and still shrink it considerably, right? We pay over 50% of the income taxes collected go towards the military. That's an extraordinary amount of money.
Thanks, Obama.
We're a militarized society. He hasn't done anything about it either, and that's really surprising to me. We're a militarized society, and that's fine. We should have a strong military. We've had a strong military for a very long time. But we don't need to be all over the world and spending all sorts of money and being involved in everyone's business.
Sure.
In fact, like as much as I want to shut down the Department of Education and the Department of Labor and all these things that I don't think should exist, I don't think these things should exist on the federal level.
Who the hell's teaching the kids then?
The states? Why is the federal government involved in any of that at all?
I think we all know Kansas can't do that on their own.
Well, it's up to the people of Kansas to fix that, not the people of the federal government.
Well, then we have to deal with the idiots coming out of Kansas.
Education's paid for on a local and state level. So there's a federal government department that just exists to oversee everything. It doesn't make any sense. Like there are just certain things. But even if you just left everything else alone, you can still cut half of the military budget and save $500 billion a year. The funnier thing is that we collect all this money from FICA and income tax, from all of these state taxes, tariffs, and all these things, right?
Yeah.
And we still can't pay our bills. And everyone's like, well, we must raise taxes in order to, get
out of the deficit.
It's like, why? Why don't we just spend less and everything's like so weird about taxes in the United States. It's so strange to me that people are like so eager to pay taxes. That's so weird.
It's because Americans want to make a better world. Americans want to make America better. And the idea is that by giving the government the money, they're going to make things better. They're going to stop hunger. They're going to make people smarter. They're going to help get the people who are having a rough time to better places.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting about that to me. And we were talking in another conversation with Colin about how you can't put me in a box.
You can't put Colin in a box. He
can't
punches right through him.
It can't be done. And I actually believe that the government should be spending money on very specific things that maybe a lot of Republicans wouldn't agree with. One of the things that makes us American, I think, is our culture and our art. And I think that we should be funding things like NASA. I think we should be, with a lot more money. I think we should be funding things like the arts and humanities or in our museums. I think we should pay artists to paint murals, and I think we should do all these kinds of things that make America, America. America's not made America by the Department of Education, and it's not made America by our military. It's made America by the things that we do here in the United States that drive us forward every day, whether it's commerce and art and all these kinds of things, entertainment. And so I think the government should get involved in those kinds of things. And space exploration, all these kinds of things. Like, well, why aren't we already at Mars? Why don't we have bigger and better museums? Why don't we, like, the funny thing is that doesn't cost anything. You can give NASA...
Space costs money.
Greg, they get like $20 billion a year. $20 billion a year, which is what the government spends in like half a day. You know? So give them $100 billion a year, and it's still irrelevant because, you know...
We're just writing the checks we can't cash. Who cares?
Well, because of that, like, if you just... That's the thing is that we could... If we just cut the military budget in half and left everything else the same,
took that money back into everything else.
We could pay down the debt, or the deficit. We wouldn't have a debt. No, we wouldn't have a deficit, we would have a debt. We would pay down the debt. We can give money to more people to do cooler things, or whatever, and experiment and do science and research, get people excited about those things again, which is very important. And we won't have the bloat that we have right now. But because we spent all of our money on the military and on Social Security, which is untenable.
Yeah, it's not going to be there for you and I.
No, absolutely not. That's the infuriating thing about FICA is that we pay like 15% taxes on FICA, and we're not going to get any of it, ever. It's never going to happen. There's no way that that's going to be solvent. In fact, like I read things almost every few weeks where they're like, it's probably not even going to be solvent until like maybe until 2025. You know, like okay, that's a long ways away from when I retire.
Yeah.
It's just that we're unwilling to make hard decisions. That's why I really respected like a lot of the people that ran for president that were kind of fringe candidates that were like, why don't we just cut the budget by half? Like, why are we looking at it from the point of view of if you want to you can pave every road in the United States, just cut the military budget in half. It all comes back to like just cutting what you already have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Being smarter with the money you got.
And what are these departments even doing anyway? What does the EPA even do? You know, like
from what I know, they try to shut down the Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true.
They also had a fun part on Newsroom. You should watch it. It's a good season this year.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new season of Newsroom.
It's good.
So it's just like we don't often audit ourselves in our government. The EPA's heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
But like, what is it really doing?
Yeah.
And is it worth the money? And we have to have a huge government audit. That's what Congress should really be doing. They don't do anything. Is really just look around and be like, what are we spending this money on? Like, because if you find $500 million here and $100 million here and $1 billion here, and you just are very, very scientific with a scalpel, just cutting everything out, all of a sudden you have a ton of money. And you could even keep taxes at the same level and explain to the American government or the American people, like, we're going to start paying down our debt now because we're almost a $20 trillion debt. But understand that right now the government spends $1 in every $5 that is spent in the United States. The government spends it. And you know that they're not efficient. That's the thing is that they don't do anything right. They don't do anything right.
Well, I think FEMA showed us a thing or two.
Oh, definitely. Oh, they showed us a thing or two. Yeah, they certainly did show us. That was what was so funny about Jericho is like when FEMA was there and they were like
doing things.
Yeah,
you're like, nah,
come on, no, they
nah,
wouldn't.
That's not how it
especially with
works.
nuclear bombs. Like, are you kidding me? So it's just the income tax is wrong. We pay taxes at all these different levels, and by the time your dollar is spent, you're getting like less than half of what you make, and that should infuriate people. When you're broke and you don't have any money for what you need, well, go blame the goddamn government. You know, because they're stealing all your money. And, you know, they need to take some of it. But this is almost to the point of strong-arming the money out of us in every way, just shaking us down, you know, at every level. At every level, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And now that we own a business, we know that more than ever. Like, they wring everything dry. They look under every crevice, every cushion of your couch. Like
every flap.
They'll take anything that's not nailed down. They'll take it all.
Yeah.
And that's not going to stop them from spending money, and it's not going to stop them from spending too much money and spending more than we have. And that's why you have to look at it from the other perspective, which is say, like, what are we spending the money on, and maybe we should just stop spending all that money. And maybe we don't need all these bureaucratic departments and this huge military, and maybe we can give our money to the things that actually do something and produce something. The government doesn't produce shit. And it's funny that we have such a bloated government in a market capitalist society, because they don't do anything but take. That's it.
Nothing depresses me like talking politics with Colin. Ramon, thank you so much for writing in with your topic. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of taxes? Let us know in the comments, and then make sure you share this video with your friends. Support us on patreon.com/kindafunny so we can pay the tax man when he comes for us. And then, for the final season of Conversation with Colin, keep coming back to kindafunny.com.